The stronger your foundations, the more impenetrable your journey becomes. A wish made to light up the lives of a nation. Becoming one of Sri Lanka's biggest success stories, thanks to a true visionary and a righteous leader, Chandra Schaffter. However, the road to success isn't always an easy one. Born in 1930, Chandra Schaffter lost his mother when he was only 2 years of age, and then lost his father at 11. Boarded at St. Thomas College, Mount Lavinia, Mr. Schaffter began quickly discovering his love for sports and went on to become a double international in both cricket and hockey. His insurance journey began all the way back in 1952, as he had to drop out from the medical faculty due to hardships. His contribution to the industry is immense, and hence he is renowned as the father of insurance in Sri Lanka. With each passing decade, he built his legacy. And in 1994, after crossing many a hurdle, he almost single-handedly created Janashakti Insurance. He revolutionized the industry, setting benchmarks at every juncture. His primary objective: to empower each and every person in Sri Lanka. He started lighting the path for many people to follow in his footsteps, and made Janashakti grow stronger with each passing year. Even the logo was to represent lighting a lamp of insurance in each and every home. A simple dream and a resounding vision, coupled with a true entrepreneurial spirit of a legend.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Jayantha Senviratna, who is a former Ceylon cricketer, head coach for Nalanda College for nearly 2 decades, former president of Old Nalandians Sports Club, respected administrator in Sri Lanka cricket, fellow team player of late Mr. Warnapura at Nalanda, Bloomfield and Ceylon. Sir, I cordially invite you to briefly introduce Mr. Bandula Warnapura's profile.
A very good morning. Today we gather here to pay tribute and commemorate the life and unique achievements of our departed faithful friend and worthy colleague, Mr. Bandula Warnapura, who achieved the rare distinction of not only being the Sri Lanka first ever Test captain in 1982 against England at Colombo Oval, but also having open batting and scored in the first Test run in the first Test. Ladies, distinguished guests and friends, it is my honor and privilege to look back and share you all some of the memories I still cherish of the very near and dear friendship that both Bandula and I had maintained for a little over 5 decades. Until his very sad and sudden demise on the 18th of October 2021 at the age of 68. Well, I commenced playing cricket for Nalanda under 12 team in 1963, and it was during the under 14 stage that Bandula joined Nalanda, having been at St. Peter's College before. Since then, both of us played together for the under 14 side, and you will be surprised to hear that two of us were selected to play for the under 16 side too in the same day. It was no doubt a huge task and challenge, as both of us, both under 14 and under 16 matches were played on the same day. From 9 a.m. to 1:30, the under 14 match with shorts, and the under 16 match from 2 o'clock to 6. Probably a record shot gone unnoticed. It was our passion and commitment towards cricket that made us willing partners at all levels. I recall that Bandhu was a confident opening batsman from his young days, while I was slotted at number 4. We continued to play together. Until the reached under 19 team. During this time, Nalanda first 11 team did not have a successful batsman. Late Mr. Jedigun Ratna, who was a coach, well-recognized coach, was our coach, and he asked Mr. Lionel Mendes, who was the POG at that Mr. Nelson Mendes, who was the POG at that time, for a replacement for the first 11 team, opening bat. Mr. Mendes nominated Mr. Bandula Warnapura's name to have as opener in the first 11 side without any hesitation. From there onwards, Bandhu went up to national level as the opening bat. I think if Mr. Mendes was here, he would have been very proud, because it was a well thought and well timed decision proposed. In 1971, Bandula captained Nalanda College cricket team, and later his two sons, Madhura in 2004 and Madhav in 2008, followed their father's footsteps, which stands as a milestone in the annals of the Anand Nalanda Big Match series. Yet another record added to Warnapura family, father and two sons captaining Nalanda College team in the history, which is unique record. Furthermore, I would like to mention that Bandhu and myself were not only partners of cricket, but also in basketball, badminton, and soccer. In fact, Bandhu and myself represented Noises as double partners in badminton. I am also reminded as to how four of us, namely Bandula Warnapura, Lalit Kaluperma, and Leslie Narangwada, and myself, were able to get students' membership at Bloomfield. And also, I could remember four of us got the opportunity to play in the Daily News Trophy. After a few games, we were chosen to play in the Sara Trophy tournament. In 1975, Bandula was appointed cricket captain of Bloomfield for Division 1 Sara team. I would like to mention the names of some of the cricketers who played alongside Bandula for Bloomfield. They are Lalit Kalukuruma, Leslie Narangoda, Susanta Karunaratna, Brendan Kurupu, late Andrew Singh and late D.L.S. De Silva, A.G. Pereira, Ajit De Silva, Sabapatri Ilangaratnam, late Rohan D.S. Vijayaratna, Lalit D.S. Vijayaratna, Chabir Askarali, wrote in one D.S. De Silva, late Sunil Jayasinghe, Lal Vikramatunga, Lalit Sagara, and many more. I see some of them in the audience, a testimony to this Bandhu's popularity and contribution to cricket. My sincere apologies for not naming them all due to time constraints. We all became loyal cricketers of Bloomfield and continued to our game until our bodies were not cope with it. Subsequently, I was elected as the president of Bloomfield in 2015 and Bandhu followed suit in 2019. Furthermore, after having school friendship, our friendship continued to flourish and both of us joined Velour Spinning and Weaving Mills as junior executives in 1971. I remember very well when a vacancy occurred with the resignation of manager industrial relations, late Mr. Neville Abegunwadana, a legend in soccer who was the manager in charge of the industrial relations department. Both Bandhu and myself were top on the list to fill his vacancy. But Bandhu persuaded me to accept the post and I was reluctant to do so as I thought it should be him, not me. However, after much haggling, Bandhu confided in me that he too has plans to leave Velour Spinning and Weaving Mills and join Ceylon Tobacco for me to go ahead as such, and I accepted the post. We continued our long-standing friendship and once we settled down, sharing for bachelor status, our families too bonded well. All my friends and colleagues call me Jayanta, but Bandhu called me Sine for reasons best known to him. Many other unforgettable memories and that we both experienced during our very long and close association. Bandhu is no doubt a legend in cricket who had contributed tremendously for Sri Lanka cricket, both as the player and the captain. Even after his retirement, he contributed well for the development of the game by serving the Sri Lanka cricket as Director Cricket Operations. He also made his mark as a very competent cricket commentator, making use of his vast knowledge of the game. He also served in Malaysia for a number of years as Director Cricket Operations in the ICC. It is no doubt a great honor and privilege for me and many others who closely associated with Bandhu to have had a sincere and trustworthy friends like him. Before I wind up, it's my duty to thank Mr. Pali Vidyaratna and his group for initiating and taking interest to make this event a reality. Thank you.
For that, I would like to invite Mr. Dinukar Chandra. He was the head prefect for the year 2002 and 2003 and the deputy games captain, basketball captain who represented Sri Lankan schools team at the Asian Games. He is having his own franchise with Allianz Insurance and currently serving as the president of the Old Nalandians Sports Club. Once again, I cordially invite Mr. Dinukar Chandra to brief today's lecturer.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my dear sons and daughters. Today indeed, a very special day for me, as I am deeply honored to introduce a legendary figure in Sri Lanka at such a historical event. As the president of the Old Nalandians Sports Club, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Pali Vijayaratna for suggesting this important initiative. We hope that this timely initiative will help cultivate and shape the character of our sportsmen. When we consider who would be the ideal person to deliver the inaugural lecture of this series, many names came up. We wanted to invite a national sportsman who has not only excelled in sporting career but also conquered the corporate world. The name that stood out was Mr. Chandra Schaffter. There is also a very strong connection here. Mr. Schaffter was the manager of the Sri Lankan cricket team during the historic first tour to India, where Mr. Bandula Warnapura captained. On a personal note, I am honored and proud to say Mr. Schaffter was also the mentor or rather guru of my father in the field of insurance, a path I have followed myself too. As you saw in the video biography, Mr. Schaffter comes from a humble beginnings. Often at the age of 11, can you believe he went to captain his college cricket team and became the head prefect of St. Thomas, one of the leading colleges in the island, St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. Then he excelled academically, gaining admission to the University of Ceylon to study medicine. Despite facing many financial challenges that led him to drop out in his first year, he found work as a clerk in an insurance office.
Despite the hurdles life threw at him, he never gave up on his passion for sports. He went on to represent Sri Lanka in both hockey and cricket. Touring England in 1950s as the opening bowler is a highlight of his career. Later he dedicated himself to uplifting young cricketers as a sports administrator. One of the cricketers he mentored is none other than legendary Hall of Famer Muttiah Muralidaran. His professional career, Mr. Schaffter considered as one of the pioneers in the Sri Lanka's insurance industry. We are fortunate to have another insurance pioneer with us in this audience, none other than our former president of Old Nalandians Sports Club, Mr. Vijayaratna, who worked alongside Mr. Schaffter to shape the structure of Sri Lankan insurance. With over 7 decades in the insurance field, Mr. Schafter's contributions are unforgettable. He played a key role in formation of Janshakti Insurance PLC and has received numerous accolades, including Lifetime Achievement Award at the 16th Asian Insurance Industry Award in 2012 and another Lifetime Award from LMD in 2016. I'm really amazed to witness his dedication to giving back to the sports community. Even at the age of 94, is evident from the fact that he woke up at 2:30 a.m. continuously for 6 days to prepare for this lecture. In his own words, he said, "Dinuka, I have never prepared for a lecture like this in my life." That is how he ranked the importance of this lecture in sake of our future generations. We are indeed honored and privileged to have a legend of this caliber within us today. Let us all welcome Mr. Chandra Schaffter to deliver the inaugural Bandula Warnapura Memorial Lecture.
On this momentous lecture, Old Nalandians Sports Club presents a Bandula Warnapura Memorial Honor Replica Medal for the keynote speaker. Honoring his prestigious presence, I would like to invite the President of the Old Nalandians Sports Club to bestow the medal and Games Captain Tavisha Pereira to assist the awarding. To receive the honor medal, I honorably invite the keynote speaker of today's lecture, father of the insurance in Sri Lanka, former founder of Chandra Schaffter PLC, Mr. C.T.A. Schaffter.
Respected Principal of Nalanda College, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to be invited on this occasion, and the subject of my talk will be sports versus studies. How do we make the choice? To be invited to Nalanda College, which is, I'm told, 99 years old and just nudging at its century, is indeed a great honor. It is now 99 years old, and great names like Dr. P.D.S. Kulratna, L.H. Methananda, the first principal, are some of the shining stars of this great institution. Nalanda College began some years after Ananda, but is in no way second to it. I think I am correct in saying that at least in the field of cricket, Nalanda has been streets ahead. Those who come to mind are the great Stanley Jasinger, who was one of the greatest batsmen this country produced and a very close friend. Carl and Valentine Obesekara, all of whom played in my time when I was captaining St. Thomas's. In later years, there was Hema Vijayaratna, both from the insurance industry and cricket, Mahela Jayawardena, Kalu Peruma, Roshan Manama, Kumar Dharmasena, and Jayanta Seneviratna. These are some of the greats, and please forgive me if I have missed out any. And of course, you had some of the greatest coaches in Sri Lanka, Jerigund Ratna, and I believe Mr. Nelson Mendis, who were among those who had coached the school in the early years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and happiness for me to be invited by the Old Nalandians Sports Club, who are the organizers of this function, and to speak at the inaugural lecture of my dear friend, the late Bandula Warnapura. I first came to know Bandula when he captained Sri Lanka in 1982 in the inaugural test played at the Pisara Oval. I had never met him before or even seen him play until then. I had only heard of his exploits as a schoolboy cricketer. A few months later, I was asked to manage the first official team from Sri Lanka to visit India. Bandula again captained and did an excellent job, and we both became good friends. We had no coaches at that time. We had no physio. In fact, I had to engage the physio myself at every center at my expense. We had no scorer. I had to fly out the scorer from Sri Lanka, from Colombo to Chennai. My son Prakash met him at Chennai and brought him by train to Delhi. That was the state of Sri Lanka cricket at the time. We played one-day games in Chandigarh and New Delhi, where we were soundly thrashed. Then we had to travel by train from New Delhi for our only test match with India in Chepauk, Chennai. There was no provision for air travel because our board was not well off. So we had almost a 24-hour train journey from Chandigarh to Chennai, where we had to play the test match. Let me tell you a short story about Bandula's character. According to the rules of the cricket board, the manager, the captain and the vice captain were the selectors on tour. And as manager, I was the chairman. The last place was between Arjuna Ranatunga of the SSC and Anura Ranasinghe from Bloomfield, of which clubs Bandula was a staunch playing member, and of course he had played with Anura for a long time. The last place had to be decided. Bandula, the Bloomfield player, was fighting hard for Arjuna, the SSC player. And I, as chairman, was fighting for Anura, a close friend of Bandula and a teammate of his. In desperation, I finally agreed to Bandula because he was the captain and Arjuna was selected. Bandula was not supporting a club member, but a member from his rival club SSC, because doing what he thought was best for the country. That was Bandula's character. Can you believe that happening today? Finally, one of the regular players was injured before the match, and Anura also played, and both Anura and Arjuna did very well in the match. Sometimes we older schools in those days, 50 years ago, tended to look down on colleges like Ananda and Nalanda cricket-wise. We thought they were not good at cricket. But when they got on the field, they taught us a thing or two. The shining quality of Bandula was his integrity. And it is for this reason that he was not popular. You cannot be honorable if those who control your fortunes are not straight. And that was the problem Bandula faced. When he selected Arjuna Ranatunga of Ananda and SSC over his lifelong schoolmate and clubmate Anura Ranasinghe, he did that only for one reason. He demonstrated his integrity, which unfortunately today is a rare commodity, not only in the field of sports, but more so in the corporate world. We nearly beat India in that match. Dulip Mendy scored double hundreds and Roy Dias a beautiful 100 and a 60. We played one more match in Bangalore and returned to Colombo. But on our return, there were rumblings in the administration that they were not happy with Bandula. My manager's report gave him an excellent recommendation, but that report was never presented to the board for its meeting. He had enemies on the board who plotted to get him out. Dulip Mendes was appointed captain for the next tour without any warning to Bandula. Bandula realized that his cricket in Sri Lanka was over for him, and he joined the team of rebels for South Africa. At that time, international cricket with South Africa was banned due to its apartheid policy. When Bandula and the team came back, all those who went to South Africa were banned for several years from competitive cricket, quite unfairly. The board had never told them not to go. However, Bandula did not give in, and after a hard fight, took the board to an inquiry, and he was finally exonerated totally. And I was one of those who gave evidence in his favor. After his exoneration, he did various jobs in cricket and coaching, and served as an official in the ICC and later even for the Sri Lanka board, which has suspended him. He retired early due to ill health and passed away at a comparatively early age, leaving a wife and family. That is the sad story of my friend Bandula. Let me now come to the subject of my lecture, which is sports versus studies. How do we make the choice? From the time we are born, we play. Why do we play? Playing gives us enjoyment. We begin to look at books after the age of 4 or 5, but we already have been playing some sort of game to entertain ourselves. Why is that? Primarily, games gives us enjoyment. while studying does not. I do not know whether there is anybody in this audience who loves studying more than playing. We must also remember that the qualities we learn in sports, like resilience, teamwork, leadership, confidence, patience, self-esteem, and belief, decision-making ability and integrity all add value to our lives. If you absorb them when you are young and practice them, your life, as Bandula was prone to do, he was unpopular because he stood up but he was right. He was not willing to barter his principles of popularity. These qualities add value to your lives, whether it is today or in later years, during your studies or while working, or even in managing the lives of your families. Because if you cannot be a good example to your family, then your family will fail. Let me now come to the subject of my lecture, which is sports versus studies. Many people play outdoor games, but there are some who stick to indoor sedentary games like table tennis, squash, badminton, chess. Why are we anxious to participate in sports? It is primarily because it makes our bodies active and our limbs stronger. But more importantly, it is something nearly all of us enjoy a great deal, and particularly because of the spirit of competition inherent in games. The more popular outdoor games are soccer, rugby, cricket, hockey, athletics. But for many years, these outdoor games were the preserve of males. Ladies hardly played any cricket, soccer, or hockey. It is quite different now, and we are playing cricket, soccer, and even participating in kickboxing. The world has changed, and sport has been embraced by people of all walks of life. Some games are popular, while others are not. Some games are cheap, while others can cost a great deal of money. In Sri Lanka, I would say cricket, soccer, and rugby are probably the most popular games. All these games, in one way or another, give us the opportunity to exercise our bodies, keeping ourselves fit, some more so than others. Most people choose the games they like to play and which game suits them. Not everybody can afford to go to gyms or have expensive gym equipment in their homes. The incentive to play games is that it can bring out the best in you, making you do better and beat your opponents. Athletes try to run faster than others. If it is cricket, you try to take more wickets or score more runs or bowl faster than your opponents. All bring out the competitive spirit, which is good as long as competition is clean. The objective in sport is to win, but it should never be at all costs, because sports teaches us what we call sportsmanship. Do not do anything which is not in keeping with the rules. Do not take advantage of your opponents. Follow the rules strictly. All these things we learn by taking part in sports. You probably do not learn that in your classroom. For me, cricket has been one of these games from where I have learnt a great deal in life. That you must play for your side at all times. Never be selfish. You have to learn to give your wicket away so that the man on the other side, who is the better batsman, can continue. A bowler will always try to get wickets, but not by injuring his opponent. In cricket, you have to obey your captain once the match begins, and obey him without question. We learn that the umpire's word is law. But nowadays, there is the DRS. Before the DRS came, gentlemen walked away, even before they were given out. They never showed dissent. Rugby is a rough game, prone to injuries. Like boxing, it has its drawbacks. In an effort to win, schools and clubs sometimes put too much pressure on players, sometimes exposing them to bodily danger, and they are scarred for life. These are matters that older people have to think about and take serious action. Then there are individual games like table tennis, badminton, squash, and of course athletics, where finally one person is the winner. Tennis and golf are the most competitive games. We have different champions walking away with trophies. at different competitions, some repeating it for 2 or 3 years or even 10 years. In the early days, there was little or no remuneration for your performance. Nowadays, it is different. In English county cricket, in the early days, there were amateurs and professionals. The amateurs never took any money, but the professionals for the professionals, it was their living. That was only in England. But there also they had different dressing rooms for professionals, different dressing rooms for amateurs. The amateurs didn't mix with them off the field. There were different gates out which you went to bat and field. The amateurs walked through one field and the professionals walked through another field. It may look funny, but that is how it was. Amateurs took no money at all, but for professionals it was a living. Some of the greatest professionals in England were Hobbs and Sutcliffe, Hutton and Hammond. Today everybody who plays cricket in England, I think, is a professional. Soccer has long been a sport for professionals. In countries like Sri Lanka, I don't think there is any professional sport except cricket. To be your best mentally, you must take care of yourself physically. Otherwise, you will not be fit to do your studies well. In today's world, we face many distractions, and if you don't look after your body, your mind will suffer. The two are connected. Think of your body like a vehicle. Just like a car needs fuel, maintenance and care if it is to run smoothly, so does your body needs exercise, healthy eating and rest. These are the fuels that power your mind. Your mind depends on the health of your body to work well. Take athletes, for example. They are not just physically strong, but mentally sharp. Because when you challenge your body, you challenge your mind. Every time you run an extra lap, you push yourself out in a workout, or even practice yoga or meditation. You are training your mind to handle stress and focus and stay calm. So sporting activity is an important part of your daily life. Your physical health boosts your mental abilities, improving memory, concentration and mood. And this doesn't just help on the sports field, but in your studies and future careers as well. When you're healthy, you think more clearly, you make better decisions and are more creative. So you will see that to have success in studies, it is important to be physically fit at all times. And for this, games can be important. The problem arises when you are young and still at school, to balance your studies with your desire for sports. Some students concentrate on studies, some concentrate almost totally on their sports. But it must be remembered that very few sports provide an income. Cricket is one of them, but even that is restricted. So the field is very small, and it is a great gamble if your parents want to make you a professional cricketer, because that is something very hazardous. We might all like to be like Mayala Javadana or Sangakkara or Sanat Jayasuriya. But the fact is that there are very few such people in this country. In any event, the professional sporting world is very small. It is minuscule compared to the working world. That is the mercantile world, the government service, and even self-employment in some skills. All these give you a wide opportunity, unlike the very slim opportunity in the world of sports. The other big drawback is that after the age of 35 or 40, you are not physically fit to play at a high level, and you have to reconcile yourself to play only for employment. So even if you are a professional sportsman, and I'm talking about cricket, rugby, soccer or tennis, you can earn an income from these games only up to a point. Thereafter you have to look around and the good jobs you have passed you by at that time. There are very few sportsmen in Sri Lanka who have made good from sports. Even then, very, very few of them get the enormous income that cricketers like Virat Kohli, Tendulkar, Gavaskar and others have earned. We are a small country and our ability to pay is very small. We all like games, and very often we like games more than our studies. Too much sport can affect our bodies, but little or no sport can affect our studies. But the basic fact is that every child has to study, because it is in most cases how you fare in your examinations and what you have studied which gets you a job. Playing cricket, soccer or hockey or tennis gets only a very few well-paid jobs. A large number, well over 95%, play games only for pleasure and to keep fit. That is something very important we have to learn. Moderate participation in games to keep your body fit is what is basically required. Because during your student days, you have to study, not play games all the time. You have to study, study and study so that you do well, pass your exams and get good employment. Unfortunately, that today is how the world works. There is no alternative to that. Nobody looks at your performance in cricket or hockey as a rule when you go for a job. Some good firms have an interest in sports and employ cricketers or soccer players, but they are very few in number. And if you think you are sure to get a job because of your sport, then you are mistaken. Anyway, you will agree that after you reach 35 or 40, you are of little use as a sportsman. It is very important to exercise your body. It is very important that you play games in moderation. But finally, the world is such that unless we study, we get through our exams and acquire knowledge, which is what we acquire by studying, whatever subject we do, we learn something. And without that, we cannot make our way in life. You must remember that for most of you, it is studies that will take you up in life, not sport. Only a few will benefit from excellence in sport, but the opportunities are few. Also in Sri Lanka, which is a poor country, the ability to pay is not like in Western countries or India. So in any case, sport brings very little money. So you must bear all these in mind, and also that after 30 or 35, your body slows down, your performance drops, and you will be out of the team. In sport, unlike so much as in studies, you have regular ups and downs. You have good luck and bad luck. Whereas in studies, if you study hard and study steadily, and if you are a good student, you can do well in your studies and go up in life. You sit for your examinations, you get through them, and then you get promotions in your job. It is the same. Your employers recognize your professional qualifications, the subject you are doing in your company. So in the field of study, progress is fairly straightforward. In the case of sports, it is not so. One of the greatest lessons we learn from sports is to take the good with the bad, to take life as it comes. As individuals, you may find that you have done well in your practice matches, in your early season games, but for some reason, you are left out when the big matches start. That is a fact of life, and taking part in sport has its greatest lesson, which is that you learn to accept failures and disappointments as a part of life. Let us now come to the importance of studies. I'm afraid I am a bad example. I was bad in studies and good at sports. But I was in the insurance business. I started as a clerk. I got promotions in my office because I studied after I started working much more than I studied at school. I passed my insurance exams and earned a good reputation. At the age of 42, I gave up my regular job and I became an agent, which is what you call self-employed. And then I took a big risk. I was paid no salary. I had to support a wife and 4 children. It was hard work, but because I had done well and had some reputation as an insurance consultant, I managed to progress. As I progressed, I became a broker. Later started 2 insurance companies, one in 1994 and the other the next year, entirely on my own, by which time I was nearly 65 years old. I had no outside help and the initial effort was my own. In those days, club cricket performance took the headlines in the sports page, and that helped me greatly because I often was seen in the headlines. Then I played for Sri Lanka in 1954. That too gave me a boost. You learn the lessons of life from cricket. So all these have to be kept in mind, and you learn to marry the two. You can play games even after the age of 35 or 40, but in a very restricted way. You can play tennis probably or a little cricket, but you cannot be highly competitive. So there will be no avenue for earning income unless you become a coach. But again, the opportunities are few. The case of sports, you have to learn to take life as it comes. As individuals, you may find that you have done well in your practice matches, but you are left out later. You must learn when playing that you cannot interfere with selectors, you cannot influence them. Unless you obey these rules absolutely, you are not conducting yourself in the proper way and you will damage the institution of selectors. Unfortunately, in our country at the moment, there is political interference, administrative interference, and interference of all sorts where selections are concerned. But this does no good to the game. To give you all a simple example, the schools you go to, there is a principal who is the head of the school, and there are several matters on which he takes a decision, and only he can take that decision. If every parent started questioning him, he can never function. It is the same with a general in the army or a captain in the navy. You have to learn that some decisions cannot be questioned. In the present day, if you have a good degree, you can get a job at an executive level. Otherwise, you will probably end up as a clerk and go through life with annual promotions. All this means that wages are geared to the position you hold, and unless you have done well in your studies and you get a good job, you can find life quite hard. In the present age, what we call a computer age, there is tremendous opportunity for getting good jobs in the IT field. But then you have to study that subject. And I think it is correct to say there is tremendous opportunity both for work as well as for going up the ladder. There is a skill demand for computers all over the world. There are professional fields like law, medicine, engineering. But then if you want to be a professional, almost all the effort has to be yours. The basic fact is that if you are looking to do well in a job, you have to study hard and get a good education. The more you learn, the higher you can go in your profession, provided you have the ability to study. There is only a limit to what each person can study. Everybody cannot do their masters or PhDs. The more you study, the more you learn, and the higher you can go in your career, provided you understand what you have studied. There are professions like medicine, law, and engineering, where you can study more and more and acquire more degrees. You can then do very well in life and become a wealthy man. That avenue is not for everybody and only for the select few. Where sport is concerned, you must have the inborn talent or your progress will be limited. The problem we are faced with is to what extent does sport interfere with studies. That depends on the parent and it depends on the child. The problem is greater with boys than with girls, as girls tend to study hard and get through their exams with good results. Most boys are less concerned about it, and as long as they get a simple pass, they are happy. But let us look at what the future will hold for them. If you want to get a job, particularly in the present day, you have to get a good degree. If you want to get a post at an executive level. Otherwise, you can be happy being a clerk and getting promotions occasionally, if your firm is pleased with your work. All this means that wages are geared to the position you hold. And unless you have done well in your studies and you get a good job, you can find that life will be very hard. In the present age, what we call a computer age, there's tremendous opportunity for getting jobs in the computer field. But then you have to study that as well. One of the most important things I must tell you in both sports and your studies and your professional work is to have in you the confidence that you can do what you set out to do. You have to have that confidence, because if you do not have confidence, you will almost certainly fail. Having confidence in yourself is very important, and it is something you have to carry with you throughout your life. To take a cricketing example, if you go out to bat with little or no confidence, you are certain to get out. You must walk out fully confident that the bowling will have no fears for you. Similarly, it is the same in your business. As we say, you must be on top of your job. I often took great risks in my business, but I had the confidence that I can pull through somehow. So I would say sports is what most of us love. Studies is what we all have to do if we wish to earn a living. There has to be a balance between the two, but learning is something you cannot do without. So my message to you is today, make time for your body and your mind will thank you for it. Commit to daily habits that strengthen both mind and body, and you will find that life becomes not just easier, but also more enjoyable and fulfilling. In conclusion, let me make this very clear. Our studies are what take us up in more than 99% of our lives. It is studies that will get you somewhere in the competitive world, and there is absolutely no substitute for that. A good educational qualification is what we all have to strive for, and the rest will follow. Never think that sports will make you a millionaire. It is only 1 in a million who achieve that. There is absolutely no substitute for learning. It is the only thing to take you through life. A good educational qualification, as I said, is what we all have to strive for. Thank you all for your patience in listening to me. I trust I have not been too boring. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to take them for a short time. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite the Principal of Nalanda College, Mr. U.D. Iran Champika Silva, President of the Old Nalandians Sports Club, Mr. Dinuka Chandraratna, Mrs. Hemali Warnapura, Project Chairman, Mr. Dilhan Jayasundara, to present the tokens of appreciation for the guest lecturer, Mr. C.T.A. Schaffter. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Games Captain of Nalanda College, Tavisha Pereira, to deliver the vote of thanks.
A very good morning to all of you. The distinguished chief guest, Mr. Chandra Schaffter, the principal of Nalanda College, Mr. U.D. Ran Champika Silva, deputy principals, assistant principals, teachers, special invitees, members of All Boys Association, prefects, athletes, invited schools, and ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a proud moment for me to stand here on this special event representing Mother Nalanda as the Games Captain. Today's event, organized by the Old Nalandians Sports Club, has gathered over 300 students from Nalanda College along with over 100 athletes from 20 other schools. This is a remarkable opportunity for us to pay tribute to the enduring legacy of Mr. Bandula Warnapura and to be inspired by the wisdom of legendary Mr. Chandra Schaffter. Today's theme, Spirit of Sportsmanship, Cultivating the Character, capture the heart of this occasion, emphasizing how today's experience will shape the values and character that guide us into the future. First and foremost, I would like to extend a hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Chandra Schaffter for inspiring us with his remarkable journey and his insightful words on balancing academics and sports. His remarkable achievements as a double national athlete, representing Sri Lanka in both cricket and hockey, along with his pioneer contribution to the insurance industry, showcase the extraordinary heights that can be reached through dedication and reliance. We warmly congratulate you, sir, on being the first recipient of the Bandula Warnapura Memorial Lectures Medal, an honor well deserved. Next, I wish to outspread my heartiest gratitude to Mr. U.D. Ranchampika Silva, Principal of Nalanda College, for giving excellent support to make this event live and authentic. A special note of appreciation to Mrs. Hemamali Warnapura and the Warnapura family for honoring us with their presence today. Your support strengthens our commitment to preserving Mr. Warnapura's legacy, not only within Nalanda, but also beyond, through this honorable initiative. Moving on, I would like to thank the members of the first Sri Lankan Test cricket team, fellow players who played with Mr. Bandula Warnapura, Sri Lanka Cricket Association and its president, Mr. Shami Silva, along with representatives from the Old Nalandians Sports Club, the Battle of Maroons Joint Committee, presidents and members of the Henry Steele Olcott Sports Foundation, and Bloomfield Cricket and Athletic Club. Your collective presence reflects the enduring respect for Mr. Bandula Warnapura and his contribution to Sri Lankan sports. Furthermore, I wish to extend my sincere gratitude to members of All Boys Association and their presidents, the School Development Society and non-academic staff, the Prefect Guild, the sports captains and athletes, and all other invited schools who gave their excellent support in this event. Also, a special thank goes to Mr. Supun Jagoda and the Asian Mirror crew for bringing this event a broader audience through their live feed. Also, I would like to thank Prima and Fonterra brands for their contribution. At last but not least, I would like to thank Old Nalandians Sports Club and its president, Mr. Dinuka Chandraratna, the organizing committee of the Old Nalandians Sports Club, and Mr. Dilhan Jayasundara for their tireless efforts in bringing this event a reality. Gentlemen, without your kind and farsightedness, this moment event cannot be realized. Also, we eagerly anticipate this lecture becoming an annual tradition that will inspire future generations. Thank you once again to everyone gathered here today. Let us carry forward values of the late Bandula Warnapura, striving for excellence in both academics and sports, as a heartfelt tribute to his legacy. Thank you. May the blessings of Mother Nalanda be with you.
Thank you very much. So as we conclude today's lecture, remember that true victory lies not just in the scoreboard, but in how we play the game, how we respect our competitors, and how we carry our good sportsmanship qualities in our lives. And we should carry these principles not only into the field, but also into every aspect of our lives. Because the spirit of sportsmanship is a mindset. And let's all commit to embodying it both in victory and defeat. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we conclude the Bandula Warnapura Memorial Lecture 2024. Have a nice day.